Hey everybody, we just got back from a cruise on the worst rated cruise ship on cruisecritic.com. The Prima is the first of NCL's new class of ships launched in 2022, and I've been extremely excited to get on board ever since. Newly launched ships are high in demand and pricing reflects that, so we waited for the cost to stabilize a bit. For the past 2 years, I have been watching videos and reading online reviews, and the Prima has become extremely controversial. People either love it or they hate it because it's a completely new design from what a typical cruise ship has been in the past. Some state that it's boutique-y and higher end, and others say it's just annoying. Which all this information made me that much more intrigued. I kind of started out with some mixed feelings. At first, I loved it, then I hated it, then I loved it again. So there were some differences that did take some getting used to, so I'm gonna get into all that. Let's start at the beginning. My first impression as we stepped onto the Prima is I loved the bright modern decor. A popular complaint is the layout is choppy and things are hard to get to. I loved the layout. I loved how each area was its own space instead of a typical ship vibe that is large, loud, and sometimes overstimulating. For example, at Starbucks, you felt like you were in a quaint Starbucks cafe, whereas on other ships with Starbucks, they're located right next to the atrium with entertainment, guest services, and the atrium bar. For me, the cozy feel in each venue was quite refreshing. One of my favorite venues on the Prima was the Belvedere Bar because I loved the dark, romantic, bougie vibe. It was off the beaten path, way at one end of the ship. The only other two things around it were Cagney's specialty steak restaurant and the Commodore Room, one of the main dining rooms. So it would be busy prior to these restaurants being open just before dinner as everybody waited to be able to get into their tables. But once everyone was settled in, that bar was never busy and it was such a vibe to hang out at. You didn't walk through the Belvedere Bar to get to anywhere else, so there wasn't heavy foot traffic either. Another place I loved is the Local. The Local is a very popular venue on most NCL ships. Typically, it's open 24 hours depending on which ship you're on. It's a bar and grill, which is a bar and grill. They have a bar, they have a restaurant with a great menu and fabulous food. The Prima was different because they split the Local into two separate venues. One side is a full bar with extra seating along the wall, and the other is set up for dining. We liked dining without all of the bar traffic, and if you were on the bar side, you could also order food so you didn't feel like you had to go to the dining side and be seated at a table and have a server take your order. So let's go into our room. We booked a standard balcony, which again, I loved. The modern decor and the brightness was beautiful. It also seemed to be that the balcony was larger than it is on other NCL ships, and I did read online that they did make these larger, which we really appreciated the roomy feeling. Also, as a bonus, there was tons of storage and the bathroom was huge. A huge, beautiful vanity with also tons of storage and a shower that was like double the size of a typical cruise ship shower. Usually these bathroom amenities come at a premium, so we liked that we got this in a standard balcony room. So these were all of our positive first impressions, and then day 2 hit when we had a sea day. Now on sea days, we like to spend time outside, either by the pool, doing activities, whatever. I mean, we cruise to the Caribbean so that we can enjoy the beautiful weather. Well, that backfired when we tried to find lounge chairs. We started by the pool, which I need to add was tiny. This is one of the tiniest pools I think I've seen at sea. So it was crowded. The traffic around it was crowded. Of course, the lounge chairs were full, but we're not picky. We didn't need to be right next to the pool. So we proceeded to walk up to other decks that had pool seating. There was not a chair to be found, even on the top deck next to where you line up for the water slide. I mean, they maybe had like 20 seats, but they were all taken. So after perusing back and forth for quite some time, we decided to try deck 8, which is the promenade deck. They have 2 separate infinity pools on that deck, so we thought, let's give that a shot. All of the chairs were taken, whether anybody was sitting on them or if it was just a towel clipped for if they maybe decided they wanted to stop by later on, but there was nowhere for us to sit. We probably circled the deck for about an hour until we almost gave up. There is one area on deck 8 that's kind of odd. They have a bunch of beautiful and interesting sculptures set up, but no one was ever in this space. Nobody sat there and really seemed to appreciate what was going on. And I believe that space could have been better utilized for lounge chairs. Now, as I mentioned, we don't care where we sit or lay out on the ship. And I have always found a lounge chair somewhere off the beaten path, either way on the front of the ship or on an odd deck that nobody wants to be on, super far away from the pool. We didn't care, but there was nothing. We almost just slapped our towels down in the art sculpture area, but my kids weren't having it, so we did not. Here's a tip. Plan ahead, get up early if you're on the Prima and you want a deck chair. Also, something I didn't mention about the pool. The only way to get to the main pool is to walk through the already tiny buffet. And yes, this buffet was tiny. I think there are larger buffets on ships half their size. Now, we're not much buffet people, so it didn't bother us either way, but I could see how reviewers were frustrated or annoyed at the amount of volume and traffic in the buffet. So I think a buffet is already busy, but imagine if you have all the foot traffic in addition walking through to get to the pool. One reason the buffet may have been busy is because they added an additional complimentary dining option called the Indulge food hall. The Indulge food hall was really cool. The vibe was cool. It was super unique with all these different stations, but you find a table, there's an iPad or a tablet at each table with the full menu on there, and you pick your items that you want to order. So you don't have to wait for a server. You just put the food options in as you want them, and then they just start showing up at your table. Now, this is something that reviewers were frustrated about. They said it was very difficult to get a table there as it was always busy. We didn't experience this on the cruise. And not a lot of people went to the Indulge food hall for any meal. I think the busiest that I saw it was maybe at dinner. But the menu is awesome because it is a diverse selection of menu items. We like different things, and everybody found options that they enjoyed. Also, the food hall is located on deck 8, so it was very convenient to dine there when we were spending time at the infinity pools. This, of course, is when we got up early, pre-planned, and got some seats. Also on deck 8 is one of my hidden gems. The hidden gem is a place on the ship that maybe not a lot of other guests have learned about or are familiar with, or they just don't go there for some reason. I don't get it, but it's nice when you want some time to chill and you don't want all the noise and people and loud music. I find there's always a hidden gem on every cruise ship. This one I'm going to talk about two because they're very different and I couldn't decide between the two. And one is on deck 8. I'll get into this a little bit later. So when it comes to entertainment, it was great. I think most reviewers like the entertainment that is on board, and NCL is really known for having solid entertainment. In the theater, there was a Donna Summer musical, The Price is Right game show, and a comedian who was actually really funny. The atrium is typically a spot for entertainment. However, it was odd on the Prima. Since the atrium was broken up, everyone stacked in a cluster right in front of the bar. They seemed to have popular musicians because it was always busy at night, but a little too congested and awkward for my liking. Let's talk about the activities on board. This is important if you have kids or if you just enjoy random cruise activities. There was one water slide, just one, and it was a single tube ride that again had mixed reviews. People either loved it and thought that it was fast and it was fun, and other people said it was lame and you didn't get wet. So I would say it would have been nice to have another option or two. This is a new activity for NCL. They don't have it on any other class of ships. And I watched videos early on where guests got on this slide and were amazed at how insanely fast it was and exhilarating. I mean, the descriptions that went along with it sounded like this was going to be a really cool thing. The problem on our cruise, and I've been hearing this even before we got on board, is everyone was getting stuck. It was so odd, and it was in the clear part of the tube so everyone could see, and we began all getting entertained watching when someone else would go down the slide and get stuck. and they'd have to kind of sit up and push themselves to get through the remainder of the slide. The double slide, they have one that's on one side of the ship where you can race somebody. My son and my husband went up just to give it a shot to compare it to the single slide, and were told that they were closing it because too many people were getting stuck. I think they should rectify this issue, as it is one of the more interesting activities that are complimentary on the ship. Hey, NCL has some options that are an extra cost. There's definitely mixed feelings on the amount of extra cost things. Some reviewers would argue that NCL is nickel and diming. Others say, well, the cruises cost less than something maybe like Disney, who include all of their activities. So if you don't want to partake in those activities, you don't have to pay for them. So they had several VR games. They had a digital mini golf and electronic dartboard, as well as go-karts. We didn't partake in any of these because we're just not interested in that. But I did talk to some kids on board that had a blast and really enjoyed those activities. Not good or bad, it's just your preferences. Plan ahead to budget for those costs. Okay, now let's get into my favorite part, the 2 hidden gems on the ship. As I mentioned earlier, hidden gems are areas of the ship that maybe a lot of people don't know about and they aren't utilizing, so you get to enjoy them for yourself with not so many people. The first one is on deck 8, my favorite deck. It's on the very aft of the ship, called the Soleil Bar. I loved this venue in the evening. It was beautiful for a sunset, but also because it's on the aft of the ship, you could enjoy the wake of the ship. I thought the vibe with like the romantic lighting was amazing, and we really enjoyed some nights out there. And as you can see, I mean, this one night, not even one person is sitting at the bar, so it was very easy to get drinks. My next hidden gem is a place that I already brought up, but for a completely different reason, the Indulge Food Hall. Now, the Indulge Food Hall in general is a great venue, but they also serve breakfast. And for some reason, not many people on our ship were taking advantage of it for breakfast. Well, we did, I want to say, almost every day. On port days especially, we often want to eat quick so we can get off the ship. And with buffets, they are so congested on port days. So I could only imagine what our tiny Prima buffet looked like on a port day. We never made it up there because we went to the Indulge Food Hall. It's set up like a buffet, but everything is broken up into different stations, so you didn't have to get into one huge line to get what you wanted. If you wanted eggs and bacon, you go to one station. If you want Danish, you go somewhere else. There were signs and directions. It was so efficient and made port days so much less stressful than they typically are in the morning. So give the Indulge Food Hall a shot on a port day for breakfast. Matter of fact, do it all the days. You won't be disappointed. And something not everybody knows about NCL ships is for breakfast, they have the same food no matter what venue you go to. The buffet has the same food that is offered on the main dining room menu, the local menu, and the Indulge Food Hall. So if you go to the main dining room, you have to order and wait for service, but it's the same options. So you're not gaining by going anywhere else anyways when it comes to the food. So if you've sailed on the Prima or the Viva, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Would you go again? Did you miss the standard style of cruise ship, or did you appreciate the modern vibe and intimate spaces? Leave a comment below. And since the NCL Prima is such a unique ship, my next video is going to be tips for sailing on the NCL Prima. Thanks for watching.